So quite a common question that people ask me is how often per week should they train? And that really is such an open-ended question that without knowing a few things is very hard to answer. So things like your training history, injuries that you have or currently have or have had in the past, what your goal is, whether you compete in or training anything else other than weight training and cardio, like do you do any other activities outside of that? What job do you have? Is it like 9 to 5? Is it shift work? How stressed are you? How much sleep are you getting? Do you have kids? Are you single? Do you live on your own? Do you live with your mum and dad? Do you live with a family? All of these different things can affect the answer of how often per week should you train. So it's not just a case of, okay, well, everyone should train 3 to 4 times a week, or everyone should just train twice a week, or you should do weights 5 times a week. There's a large amount of variables to consider. So, you know, if we were to take a few examples, so let's say we take a 30 to 35-year-old mum who has 2 children, she works a full-time job, 2 young children, and she has a lot of other stuff on her plate in terms of running the children to different classes and different after-school clubs, and then obviously looking after them when they get home and things like that. So she has a lot going on. She has a work life and a very busy home life, which is probably quite stressful. So how often per week would I recommend she actually came to the gym? Maximum 3 times a week. Like a maximum of 3 times a week. Why? Because A, that's realistic. It's a sustainable approach for her to take. Like she's going to be able to probably find 45 minutes to an hour 3 times a week. If she prioritizes it, she can probably find that time. If she can't find that time, can she find that time twice a week and then do like a 20-minute session at home? Would be an alternative. And then in between those things, can she go out for walks in between, like on lunch breaks at work, and maybe go out with the children at the weekend to the park and things like that, and just get out and generally be active. So 3 times a week would probably be a good goal for somebody like that. Now, are you a single man who lives on his own, obviously, has like a bit of a bachelor pad or whatever, works a fair amount of money, is earning decent money, you know, putting a lot into his career? Maybe then we can go 4 or 5 times a week. Yes, your job may be a little bit more stressful, maybe busy, but you haven't got the home stress that the mum has. So maybe in that circumstance, we get you in 4 or 5 times a week, depending on what your goal is. So there's a few different variables here that can alter the amount of training sessions per week you should be doing. And so as a general rule, when it comes to weight training, you're looking at 3 sessions a week. So 3 full body sessions a week, lasting about 45 minutes to an hour at a time. That's a good goal to aim for. If you want to take that up a notch, maybe you do 4 times a week. You maybe do an upper-lower split. So you train your upper body on one day, lower body, upper body, lower body. That's a 4-way split. Or you could train your full body 4 times a week if you plan it properly. That can work. 5 days a week where you do a body part a week is kind of an outdated approach, but it can also work. A lot of times with 5-day programs, you might see like a lower upper, lower upper, and then the 5th day focusing on like a weak body part area. That can work too. If general fat loss is your goal, and training at least 3 times a week in the weight room with fairly high volume, and then getting in some cardio and walking activities in between is going to work very well. If you're slightly more advanced, then you may look at 4, 5, 6 day a week programs, but it all depends on like what your training goal is. Is it fat loss? Is it purely for health and longevity, or is it like building muscle? From a muscle building point of view, I actually think you need to train more than if fat loss is your goal. I think training is arguably more important for muscle building than diet, whereas for fat loss, I would suggest that your diet is going to play more of a role than your training. But they still both play roles, okay? So you have to consider that as well. I wish that I could sit here and say to you that you should do this and you should do this and you should do this, but I can't. Like, I need a more detailed background of what your goals are, what your training history is, and all of these other factors. Like, I need to know more for me to be able to give a specific answer. But as a general rule, minimum 3 times a week, maximum you could go to 5, 6, even 7 days a week, depending on your goal and your job and everything else, like I mentioned before, they're all variables. But as a minimum, I would look at training at least 3 times a week with added walking and cardio in between to get maximum benefit, depending on your goal.